Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's setting us up. All right, and we're officially live on YouTube.
Yay.
I'm going to put the link in the chat just in case anyone wants to share it with friends or family who can't make it in. And Robin, awesome. Robin introduced herself in the chat. That's the way to do it. If as people come in, if they could also put their zip codes, that helps us understand who we're reaching, and it helps us keep track of our impact. And Robin's calling in from beautiful Washington State. I'm also going to post our YouTube link on Twitter just to make sure we reach everybody.
Great.
Put it on Facebook too. Get the Facebook crowd. Does Torrance Public Library have a Twitter?
We do, but it's kind of moribund. We're
Yeah.
really active on Facebook and Instagram.
Got it.
And it's kind of been left behind.
Sometimes you just have to pick a lane and run with it with social media.
I think that was kind of our decision, was that, yeah. Let me redo that. Looks like I just sent you a private message when I wasn't trying to, so.
Oh, no worries. All right, so let's see. Let me go to Facebook. We're about 1 minute out from start. It looks like folks are coming on in, which is great. Let me make sure I tag everybody on Facebook. It's not letting me. That's okay. I think the new Facebook interface might be a little buggy.
Yeah, people have been saying they've been having problems all week with it.
Yeah. All right, Ted introduced himself in the chat, which was great. And we're right at 7 o'clock. I know we have a pretty packed schedule, so I'll go ahead and get started. So let me share my screen. And we'll go ahead and start presenting. So welcome. You are here because it is Citizen Science meets Summer Reading. The theme is Imagine Your Story. So we're going to tell the story today of a citizen science project called Crowd the Tap. This event is supported by the network of the National Library of Medicine, All of Us Research Program. Specifically, All of Us California is here as a guest. So we really appreciate them coming here and their support. And also by SciStarter. And SciStarter stands for Science We Can Do Together. We're just trying to get people all over the world to do citizen science. And more on what citizen science is in just a sec. We just want to welcome you in here by running some polls. So let me get the polls going. So our first question is, have you ever participated in a citizen science project before? You can just answer honestly, yes, no, unsure. There are no wrong answers here. If you haven't done one before, you are in the right place. You'll learn how to do one. So we're going to give you just a second more to vote. So get those votes in. We always do these just to welcome people in. And for those of you who have done a citizen science project before, let us know in the chat which one you did. We're super interested. All right, so I'm going to end the voting here and share those results. So it looks like we're about split 50-50. Some of you have done citizen science projects before, others of you haven't, which is totally fine. We'll stop sharing those results. Let's go to our next slide. So now we want to know a little bit more about you. So what is your background? Are you an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a student? Are you a parent of an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a teacher, an educator, a troop leader, etc.? Are you a librarian or part of a library staff? Are you a researcher or a citizen science project leader? Are you just a bored person on the internet? Are you none of these? Just go ahead, get those answers in, get your votes in. Looks like we have some librarians here, some aspiring citizen scientists, which is great. We have a researcher on the line with us too. So we'll give you some time to vote. All right. And I think those votes are in. So we're going to go ahead and end the poll in 3, 2, 1, and end poll. So let's share those results. So we have citizen scientists, library staff members, and researchers on the line, but all are welcome. Thanks for being here. So I'm going to pass the mic now to Ted, our partner for this event, and he's going to tell us what's new with Torrance Public Library in California. So Ted, take it away.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of the new things that we're doing or the current things that we were doing at the library. Within the last sort of month and a half, we've reopened our libraries for curbside service. We still in LA County, we can't have people inside our building, but if you go to our website and place some books or media on hold, we can make them available to you at the curbside. We have downloaded, we've added Overdrive, so you can download the Libby app on Overdrive, and we've been adding a lot of electronic books to our collections through that. So that's a new thing for us. We have teachingbooks.net, which is also multimedia, and those are aimed at what Libby's all ages, but Teaching Books is for K through 12. We're also participating in the Zip Books program. So if you are a Torrance resident and you want a book that we don't have, we can get it through the Zip Books program. Call to get more details on that. We have some online tutorials with Niche Academy. That's a new database we've added. We've also added Tumblebook, which is children's books, and Kono, which is an online collection of Asian magazines. And then, of course, we have all the databases that we've had, for years. But those are some of the newer things that we've added.
Great. Thank you so much, Ted. And thank you for hosting this with us and for spreading the word about citizen science. And for those of you who came in since we started this event, please introduce yourself in the chat. Maybe say where you're coming in from. If you want to drop your zip code in there, that helps us keep track of who we're reaching. And if you have something you're interested in learning about today, you can put that in the chat too. We'll be monitoring it for questions throughout the event, and we'll make sure to answer those during the Q&A. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, never fear, you can comment in the YouTube comments and we'll make sure to answer those on the Zoom. And just as an FYI, anything you put in the chat, we might read out and have it preserved in the recording, but nonetheless, please don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you again to Ted and the Torrance Public Library. So you may be wondering, citizen science, what is it? Well, citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. So basically, it's a way for you to turn your curiosity about science into real impact. It's a way for you to volunteer your time to move science forward. And citizen science is as diverse as science itself. So one example is the Globe at Night project. If you're really interested in the night sky and you like to go out and go stargazing, you can participate in the Globe at Night project, contribute your observations, and you can help scientists understand light pollution and where the night sky is healthy and where there might need to be some interventions to reduce light pollution. Or you can monitor water quality. You can help study biodiversity by taking pictures of the plants and animals around you and submitting those through the iNaturalist project. Citizen science is a way for you, no matter who you are, where you are, what age you are, to participate meaningfully in the scientific process. And at this point in the program, we always urge folks to go to scistarter.org/NLM to make their SciStarter account. You may not know what SciStarter is. So SciStarter is basically a connector. We connect you to the citizen science projects that need your help. So these projects couldn't happen without you. They wouldn't be able to do the research that they can do without volunteers, citizen scientists like you. And when you have a SciStarter account, that's kind of like your passport to discover all these different projects. So you would find projects on SciStarter and then maybe download an app or go to another website to do those projects. And for many projects, which are SciStarter affiliates, you're able to track the number and frequency of your contributions in your SciStarter dashboard once you have a SciStarter account. And if you go to this special page that we made for libraries and people who are library patrons, scistarter.org/NLM, we have a few projects out of the thousands that people have listed on SciStarter for you to discover, so it's not so overwhelming. So these are projects that address issues that you probably care about, like the environment, or like creating a national inventory of tap water pipes, as you'll hear about tonight, and some water chemistry. There are projects on there that address light pollution, like we talked about earlier, are projects where you can play an online game to speed up health research for diseases like Alzheimer's disease. You can discover all of this and more at scistarter.org/NLM. So please, I urge you to minimize this Zoom, make this account, and keep on listening as you do that, because I'll also tell you that on the scistarter.org/NLM page, you'll find the Introduction to Citizen Science tutorial. We're really excited about this tutorial at SciStarter because it's offered in English and in Spanish. And this tutorial was made with support from the network of the National Library of Medicine, as well as Arizona State University. It takes about 30 minutes to click through it. It's interactive, so you get quizzes, videos, a certificate at the end. And the most important part is by doing this tutorial, by completing it, you'll understand the what, the how, the who, and the why of citizen science. So it'll give you a really good overview to this new, exciting field. And it'll help you discover more about the topic of citizen science. So our featured project today is Crowd the Tap. It's a project that you can do basically anywhere in the United States, and it's an issue that matters to all of us. It's our tap water, the water we drink, the water in our homes. And we have a special guest today. We have Dr. Karen Cooper from North Carolina State University. She's the leader of the Crowd the Tap project, and she's going to explain a little bit about her story, her personal story as part of the Imagine Your Story theme, as well as tell the story of Crowd the Tap and how you can participate. So I'll pass the mic to Karen to talk to us about Crowd the Tap and her story.
Great, thanks. And actually, you can go back one slide for a second, just that with this picture. So with citizen science, a lot of the projects are studying what's like right around you, the flowers, butterflies, bees, whatever. And with Crowd the Tap, a lot of the focus, it's about safe drinking water. But to study that involves actually understanding what's below ground and what's often out of sight. And too often, out of sight is out of mind. And so, anyway, this picture here is just highlighting that there's these amazing networks of pipes underground that deliver safe drinking water to our homes. And that when it comes to risk of lead in water, um, the source is actually in the pipes themselves. So it's all about having safe infrastructure, and that's something we'll return to when we talk about Crowd the Tap. But yeah, I thought I was asked to start just talking a little bit about me and my background and how I got into citizen science. So at the moment, I'm now happily a professor at North Carolina State University in a program called Leadership in Public Science, where I mentor graduate students and teach graduate students and undergraduates about public science and citizen science. And by public science, that refers to just all the different ways that we're trying to transform science. So it's not something that just happens in our labs behind closed doors, but that there's public facing sides to it, whether it's citizen science and that kind of engagement, whether it's science communication, or what's referred to as open science, which means just really sharing our data and results more broadly. Anyway, so that's sort of part of the program that I'm in. I was going to tell a little bit of my journey to get here. Oh, I guess I am plugging my books because this is a library. And I guess we'll talk about this later. But so our current book that I have with the SciStarter team is the Field Guide to Citizen Science, which I am sure that you can find at all of at your local library. And then a few years before that, I wrote a book called Citizen Science: How Ordinary People Are Changing the Face of Discovery. And each chapter in that book is about a different field, whether it's astronomy, entomology, ornithology, meteorology, and it tells of some of the big discoveries in that field that were possible because of citizen science volunteers. Anyway, but this was not where I had planned. This wasn't even really a field when I was beginning my career. When I started out, just as a young person, I had a strong interest in animals. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. This here is a picture of my current dog, Buttercup. But so you can go to the next slide. And so actually my journey was I soon realized I wanted to be more, not just a veterinarian. I wasn't that interested in medicine per se, but that I was interested in wildlife. And so throughout my time as an undergraduate, I just I did field jobs. I wanted to be like Jane Goodall, you know. Anyway, and I studied grasshoppers. I spent several seasons studying black bears in the mountains of North Carolina. I spent some time releasing peregrine falcons into the wild. I worked with lemurs in a captive breeding facility. I worked in bottomland hardwood swamps, studying songbirds. I studied hawks and owls, and working for all kinds of different agencies and industry. You can go to the next slide. I had experiences at the Smithsonian with different birds, and also Siberian polecats and black-footed ferrets, and worked with the endangered Puerto Rican parrot. And then I started going to grad school where I studied dabbling ducks out in Wyoming. And then I did my PhD at Virginia Tech. But my field work was actually in Australia studying this little bird that's pictured there, the little brown one. It's called the brown tree creeper. Anyway, all through this, I was like, for sure, I wanted to be a field biologist because field work was so fun. But really, what I ended up transitioning after graduating to working at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, where which was a hub of citizen science with birds. And in particular, I worked with people who were bluebird enthusiasts. So people who had nest boxes that they would put up, and bluebirds take really readily to these nest boxes, bird houses, and they share their data of monitoring breeding birds. And really the whole next decade and a half of my career was focused on studying bluebirds without ever going into the field because there was all these volunteers across the country who were doing that work. So I kind of went from having all this fun time doing field work throughout the early stages of my training, and then transitioning. And honestly, that was when I started to have a family and had young kids. And I was like, it's actually great. There's this thing called citizen science where I'm not going in the field anymore, but I'm still doing research, but it's with the help of really thousands of people across the country and doing things that I could never do on my own anyway. So anyway, that's sort of how I got to citizen science. And I felt happy for people that they could do the field work that I knew was so much fun to do. So circle back around now, I've been using citizen science for to study a lot of different things. And this current project is related, you can go to the next slide, to safe drinking water. And it's funded by the EPA. And I just made a little timeline, just this only the certain part of this overlaps with my early career. But anyway, it's just of some of the legislation that's been passed related to water. And because often when I ask people if they trust their drinking water and whether it's safe in their homes, they'll say, well, yeah, because there's laws protecting it. And those laws have come at different stages in time. And really, a lot of those laws were passed actually before computers were widespread, before the internet was what it is today. And what that means is that most of the infrastructure that's been laid underground related to our drinking water pipes, we don't have good digital records of. And I'll just point out here a lot of people might be familiar with the Clean Water Act of 1972, which protected lakes and streams. And it's very important that we have clean water, but that's different from safe water. Safe drinking water from the Safe Drinking Water Act is really about what we consume and what comes through our taps. And so the lead and copper rule, which came about later, was really about started where we started to understand how how that infrastructure and how the pipes themselves can be a risk to our drinking water. And a lot of these different bills and progress that we've made, some of it's fairly recent. In 2014 was when the Reduction of Lead in Drinking Water Act went into effect. And really that's when the amount of lead in brass faucets was reduced so that our faucets would be safe. Anyway, so if we go to the next slide, so Crowd the Tap, like I said, it was started with funding from the Environmental Protection Agency because minimizing lead in drinking water is a national priority. And it's a citizen science or crowdsource-based project, right? So it's like crowdsourcing or crowding around our tap water. And it's a national citizen science investigation of drinking water infrastructure. And you can find out more you'll go through that SciStarter Library of Medicine page. So if you go to the next slide, Caroline. So there's 3 ways to participate in Crowd the Tap. And the basic sort of module, which I'll call level 1, is to provide information about the pipes that come into your home, the service line that comes in, and the plumbing that's in your home. Not plumbing that's taking water out like sewage, but water that's coming in. And these are very small, narrow pipes, right, to keep the water pressure strong. And we have some tutorials online to help you locate the appropriate pipes. And then really you can easily figure out what they are, especially if you have a magnet or a penny, because the pipes will tend to fall into 4 categories. There might be steel, like a galvanized steel, and if they are, a magnet will stick to them. Or they might be copper, which they could get discolored, but if you took a penny and scratched it, it would be the same color as the penny. Or plastic, and there, if you scratched it, it would basically be really dull, not like a metal. Or they could be lead. And if you were to scratch something and it was lead, it would appear very shiny. And so if you were to do this kind of scratch test on your pipes, it's important to protect yourself, to wear a mask, to wear gloves, and to wipe up the area afterwards with a damp paper towel, and then throw away the paper towel, just because you don't want those any particles from the pipe you don't want to consume any of those kind of particles. So anyway, that is the basics. It's a questionnaire about the age of your home. We ask some questions about demographics. And then there's questions about the pipes, and also a few questions about your water quality, like whether there's any odors, colors, tastes, staining that's related to your water. Now so it's all very observational in that regard. The second level and the third level involve different kits that you can pick up from your local library. So level 2 is the water chemistry kit, and that's a simple strip that you dip into the water, and it has all these little bits on it that change color, and then you hold it up next to this color chart and you record which color it's most similar to. And then the third level actually involves collecting water samples from your faucet into these special jars and sending it off to the lab for lead testing. And there's procedures with that. And we actually have videos of how-to videos for each of these steps. And I think, Caroline, we can show one of them. What did you pull up? Maybe the water chemistry one? Yeah, it's real short, and we can take a look at how easy it is to participate in Crowd the Tap.
Welcome to Crowd the Tap. I'm Brian Mallow, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the at-home test strip to explore the chemistry of the tap water in your home. So this video is for people who received kit number 1 from a partner organization. And it's a very simple kit. It just consists of the test strip and this brochure. You'll need to provide a glass of tap water from your home, and just make sure it's tall enough that you can dunk all 14 of the test squares underwater. You'll also need a pen and a device to keep time with. I'm going to use the stopwatch on my cell phone. And you'll also need a phone or a camera to take one picture of your results. The brochure also has step-by-step instructions, as well as other information about the project. And on the other side, there's a legend or key that we're going to use to interpret the results of the test, along with the water chemistry table. So we'll record our data here, then we'll go to the Crowd the Tap website and add it to the questionnaire, along with the information about the pipes in our homes. So let's begin. We'll start by writing our name in the rectangle under the colored squares. Next, fill a glass with water from your tap. One end of the test strip is a handle. It has no tests on it. So holding by the handle, dip your test strip in your water for 5 seconds. And when you remove it, don't shake it or wipe off the excess water. Just lay it down on the table, start your timer, and we're gonna let the water react with the chemistry test for 60 seconds. While it's doing that, I'd like to point out that this test strip is off the shelf. It wasn't custom made for Crowd the Tap. It has 14 different tests on it, and you'll notice one of them is for lead, but this test on its own is not considered accurate enough for their purposes. So the way they're going to use it is by combining this information with the other information you provided about the pipes in your home and certain characteristics of the water and your house and demographic questions. Using all of that together, they're going to build a statistical model to make reliable estimates of the relative level of risk of finding lead in your drinking water. So it's been 60 seconds. Place the test strip in the black rectangle next to all the colored squares. Now, in each row, compare the color of the test result to the options provided by the legend and choose the one that's the closest match. And write the number in the square at the end of the row. Now, for each row, take the number and find the corresponding number in the water chemistry table, and then circle the value associated with it. Do that for all of them. Take a photo of the test strip and the boxes you filled out. You really only need what's within the black rectangle. Now we're going to go to crowdthetap.org and enter our data. Click on Report Data, then the last tab, Your Chemistry. Now, enter all the values you circled on the water chemistry table. Then upload your photo. And if you have kit number 2, the water collection bottles, you can hit save and finish it later. This is where you'll enter your lab results once you receive them. But for most people, just hit submit form and you're done. Good job. From everyone, it's...
I love it.
So yeah, so there's little tricks in there, but I think Brian does a great job explaining exactly how to do that. He has another video he made for us for level 1, where he goes into his cellar, finds pipes, all kinds of things, and also for level 3 for collecting the water samples. Because what's key there is letting the water sit in the pipes overnight. Anyway, so we provide as much support as we can to help you participate, because it is really, I mean, ultimately it's pretty simple. It just takes, following some basic instructions. So if you go to the next slide, yeah, I just thought I would share some of our preliminary data. So this is a screenshot of the data entry form where people are entering information about their home plumbing and their service line. And I just made a little pie chart here of what's been reported so far. And I mean, it's a whole diversity of different materials for home plumbing. Keeping in mind that with home plumbing, people often have more than one type of pipe. So sometimes in one area of their house, they might have copper, and another area that might have plastic. And so there's a whole variety here. But you can see a lot of what we've received so far is information about copper and plastic pipes for the most part. If you go to the next slide, and for service lines, there's one service line that brings water from the water main into your house. And we've received a lot that are copper, steel, and plastic, really kind of split among those. And then you know, and then it's fine. Some people can't tell, so there's a lot there that are unknown, because sometimes it's just not something that you can access in your house. And then if you go to the next slide, we've been doing more focused work within North Carolina and looking at other data sources. Our utilities have reported information about which have whether or not they still have leaded pipes in their systems. And we've been very interested to know whether there's any racial or economic disparities in risk of lead in tap water or risk of infrastructure that is leaded plumbing. And in North Carolina, we have 100 counties, and we found that there's community water systems, that's water providers, at least one water provider in 97 of the counties that still have lead. And so collectively, those water systems are serving um, almost all the people in the state. Um, the counties with the highest percentages of systems with lead are also our counties with higher percentages of Black people and of white people who are below poverty level, and also our counties that have the highest percentages of children under 5, which are very vulnerable to lead poisoning. So anyway, so here we're discovering that this could be sort of an environmental justice issue, and which is one more reason that we need some proactive strategies for identifying these hotspots where there's still lead plumbing so that we can have programs to mitigate those effects. And then, yeah, that concludes. I guess we can have time for questions.
Yeah, Ted's going to take the lead, but before I pass the mic to him to ask some questions, I have one really quick one for Dr. Cooper. I was wondering, why did you end up going with crowd the tap instead of tap the crowd?
Yeah, we did toss that around, and it could have really gone either way. I think it was a toss-up. I think we had a vote in the lab and among my students.
Which one did you vote for? Were you a crowd the tap fan?
You know, I don't recall, but I often like stay out of the naming. I'm horrible at naming naming things. But
well, I think it's a great name. You guys picked a good one. So I'll let Ted ask his questions. Ted?
Great, sure. So this is coming as part of the NLM's summer reading program. Ours just wrapped up, theirs is still going. And they use the theme of Imagine Your Story. So I was wondering what strategies you've used to tell the story of Crowd the Tap.
What stories? Yeah, I think I mean, depending upon who I'm speaking with, sometimes I remind people about the past success we've had with getting rid of lead, like getting rid of lead from gasoline, and all the positive health outcomes that came from that. And also how we deal with lead paint, and that homes have in everywhere. There's disclosures when buying or renting a place. There's disclosures about whether there's lead paint, so that people know of the risks and can protect their family accordingly. And both of those were legislation that really helped, and actions that helped minimize risk of being exposed to lead. And so I guess just drawing on those past experiences to say, we really can't stop there. We really need to deal with our aging infrastructure and get rid of all the lead, or at a minimum, know where it is and where we need to have filters and other things to make sure that people aren't exposed. Because when it comes to lead, the damage that it can do is irreversible. And so it's super important to be preventative and to be proactive. It's kind of too late to just be responsive, to like have a problem and then be like, oh, okay, now we'll fix it. It's very important to be proactive. And that's what we're trying to do with Crowd the Tap. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, I was wondering if you could tell something about the citizen scientists that you've got participating in the project and, in the community.
Did we lose Karen or?
We lost her sound. She's
Oh no.
Sorry, no, I'm here. A little button got pushed by accident. You
okay.
can hear me, right?
We can hear
Now
you,
I can.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So citizen science projects can look a lot of different ways, and sometimes they're grassroots and they start with a community, and other times they're crowdsourced and they're really a community might emerge. It's a lot of people with a common interest. And so we do provide a forum for discussions on the Crowd the Tap page. Um, and so far, I think most of the people on the forum have been students who have participated, because we offered this project to um, all to the students who were coming into NC State this fall. So we offered it to them over the summer just so they could sort of, I don't know, start to feel connected to campus and to that kind of research opportunities and other kind of engagement opportunities that we offer at NC State. And I don't know if it's because of their age or whatnot, but they seemed more comfortable with the forum and started using it a little bit. So, but otherwise, like other than it being people who share a common interest in protecting safe drinking water, I wouldn't say it's a little bit hard to describe. Uh, it's, yeah, I think it's like a broad swath of just the general public.
Excellent. Is there anything that's been surprised you so far with Crowd the Tap?
Um, well, one of the things that has surprised me is that, um, let's see, well, more of like the structure of it. I mean, the results are still coming in. And so, like, so we haven't done any major analyses yet other than in North Carolina to see some of these patterns. But I would say I was pleasantly surprised that volunteers typically want to do more than just module that first level. Most people, if they participate, really would like to have access to the kits and do more rather than doing less. And so that's been a good thing, but it wasn't what I had kind of expected. I thought, oh, people, just want to do like the easiest if they're going to do something. But no, people want to, when they commit to something, they really want to go all in a lot of times.
That's great. What would you say to someone who wanted to participate but they're nervous about where to start?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that citizen science participation really in any project can seem like really intimidating at first. Just because there's so much about science that can seem intimidating and having to get it right. There's a lot of a lot of things that are built in to handle data quality or errors and things like that. We offer a lot of, with Crowd the Tap, like I said, we have all these videos that can help support the process to help people follow the directions. And the forum is also a place where people can ask questions if they're worried about making a mistake. Um, and and like we do things like the reason we have people enter their data about those water chemistry strips, but also take a photo is because then we can cross-validate on some subsample just to see if people are generally getting it right. So that's the kind of things where we have like these extra data quality checks kind of built in. So I would say to people to just have confidence in your abilities. These projects are designed for people who don't have expertise, like a scientist. So yeah, I would say just be brave and give it a try. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah.
That's a good message. Is there anything else that you wish that everybody knew about citizen science?
Well, I could go on and on about citizen science, but I think one of the most important things to know about it is that it's really helping, and this is beyond Crowd the Tap, just in general, like the field of citizen science and having people participate, is really helping science answer questions and make discoveries that just couldn't be possible otherwise. There's just things that require participants and observations and eyes, ears, noses all across the country or across the world, that bringing all those observations together reveal patterns that no single scientists or team of scientists could ever acquire and discover on their own. So it's really opening up windows that we never had expected.
Ted, do we have any questions in the chat?
I'm not seeing questions. I would certainly welcome some questions from our attendees, but from my view, I don't see any questions coming from the chat.
I have one more question. What's a common mistake you see people make? I'm asking partially selfishly because I'm about to participate for the first time. I want to try to avoid any common mistakes.
With Crowd the Tap per se?
That's right. Yeah, with Crowd the Tap.
I mean, some people are uploading their photo of the chemistry strip into the forum instead of into the the page where it should be. That's a really minor error. I think some people have had questions about finding the right pipes, like I said, to not mistake the outgoing water, which are usually these very wide pipes, to not mistake those for the incoming pipes, which are really very, very narrow. And so, and those outflowing pipes are really not necessarily the same material at all as the pipes that are coming in. So I think that might be one of the more challenging. But I'll also add that for many people, they don't have to necessarily find their pipes. They could ask their plumber who's worked on their pipes. They might have materials if they own the home. They might have information from their inspection report. So sometimes they can check with paperwork rather than actually going around their cellar or around their water heater to find the pipes.
Got it. Ted, do you have any more questions?
Well, Robin has a question here. That's a good question. Other than in Flint, Michigan, and in North Carolina, and in North Carolina, right? So, are there other hotspots you found for lead pipes in U.S. homes?
There's not not that we have found yet, but that have definitely been found, right? So there's been in New Jersey, there's been some cases in the past in Washington, D.C. And so there's a few, and we're still in the early days of our project, so we don't have enough participation yet to have identified newer hotspots other than what we're seeing in North Carolina. So so that remains to be seen. But I will say that what happened in Flint is what sparked the EPA to fund this project and to declare it a national priority, to kind of start making these discoveries and be proactive.
And we have a question here from someone here in Torrance who wants to know how to get some kits. And I'm going to reply in the chat, but if they send me an email, I can coordinate this with Karen. We'll figure out how to do this.
That'd be great.
I'm going to type my email here into the chat. Just get me. And this is for Barbara, who has a question, but this is for other people in Torrance. You can email me. Actually, I guess even outside Torrance, I could talk to Karen, but.
Yeah, and I'm going to put our Crowd the Tap email also, which you can copy both Ted and this Crowd the Tap at ncsu.edu email, because that'd be great.
Yeah, great.
I think we have time for one more question.
I don't know if there is one in the chat.
If you got your question.
I will say, I mean, we do have what we're structuring things as. We're just starting to launch this as an ambassador program, similar to what is happening with the libraries, where anybody can be an ambassador, where if they can rally, we do it on intervals of a dozen. So if they can rally 12 homes to do Crowd the Tap, then they can receive the 2 test kits if they're willing to be that person who distributes them to the 12 homes, collects them, and ships the water to the lab. So that's our ambassador program, which could be done in conjunction with the library.
Yeah, and that might actually be viable for Barbara, it looks like, from her specific question, but we can coordinate all that offline.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ted, for the questions, and thank you to Dr. Karen Cooper for the answers.
Sure. Thanks.
Great. Next up, we have our friends from All of Us California, who are going to talk to us about the All of Us research program. So I'll let them take it away.
Hi, I'm Dr. Candace Burton from the All of Us Research Program. I am an assistant professor of nursing science at the University of California, Irvine, and I've been with All of Us for, I think, about 2 years now. So I just want to give you a little bit of an overview. The mission of All of Us is to accelerate health research and medical breakthroughs to enable individualized prevention, treatment, and care for, well, all of us. The goal of the program is to help researchers understand more about why folks get sick or why they stay healthy. So we're looking for patterns to learn more about what affects people's health. And we aim to build one of the largest, most diverse data sets for health research. And we're hoping to hit 1 million volunteers nationwide who will sign up with us and share their information with us over time. So this is a project of the National Institutes of Health and the National Library of Medicine. And we are hoping to help to increase the capacity of public library and community-based organization staff to improve health literacy, digital literacy, and participation in scientific research, including citizen science. Next slide, please. So the point of All of Us is to create better avenues toward precision medicine. So if that's a term you're not familiar with, precision medicine is an emerging approach for disease treatment and prevention that accounts for individual variabilities in lifestyle, socioeconomics, environment, and biology. It is one way that researchers are looking to advance the ability to serve the public health needs of all people. Next slide, please. So what are some of the things we can do with what we get from the data we collect through All of Us? So for one thing, we try to figure out chronic pain. There's 100 million people across the United States every year who experience chronic pain. And that pain can come from all kinds of different sources. It can come from an accident, it can come from an illness, it can come from who knows where. So figuring out what kinds of chronic pain there are and what kinds of folks develop chronic pain can help us do better at doing that. Developing better pain medicines that aren't addictive. Just today, I saw the Healthy People 2030 objectives that came out. And one of those is to decrease opioid use. So opioids are pain medicines. They're very strong. They're very dependency forming. So people sometimes get hooked on them. And so we are looking through the data that we gather from All of Us to understand how people are affected by pain medicine and how we can develop pain medicines that don't cause dependency. Things like slowing down dementia, figuring out better treatments for diabetes, or even figuring out cancer cures that work the first time so we don't have to keep sending people back for more chemo, more radiation, things like that. And in particular, and this is another thing that will be of interest to anybody who's paying attention to Healthy People 2030, sustainable interventions to support health equity. So that's the kind of re-leveling initiative where people who have more incidence of a particular illness might have an opportunity to reduce that illness in their population. So for example, African Americans tend to have higher incidence of hypertension or high blood pressure than other groups. And so if we can figure out what are the roots of that, if we can see the patterns in the data that we collect through the All of Us program, we might be better able to figure out how to treat that and how to reduce that burden in the African American population. Next slide, please. So precision medicine already exists to some extent. Eye doctors can tell us exactly which lenses will work best for us, but when we go to our regular doctor, they may be more likely to give you the treatment that works for, quote, most people. Well, we aren't most people, are we? We're all different. When a lot of people pitch in to help with research like this, we can build a large national database to help eliminate one-size-fits-all medicine. For example, you wouldn't want to go to the hospital after a car accident and be given any old blood, right? You need matched blood. You need blood that matches your blood type and your antigen type. For hearing aids, you need one that works for you. There are different kinds of hearing loss, there are different kinds of hearing impairment, and different hearing aids support that in different ways. So you need to have the one that works for you. So we're already doing this in some ways, but All of Us is trying to get enough people to participate and provide their information to us that we can assess for ways of developing precision medicine for more than just these current examples. Next slide, please. So This is, as I said, a project of NIH and the National Library of Medicine. The crowdsourcing in citizen science is an NLM and NIH priority topic for engagement and outreach, because citizen science and crowdsourcing help engage communities in addressing societal needs and accelerating biomedical science, technology, and other types of innovation. We started this work with our partnership with SciStarter to create an online tutorial, provide opportunities to engage in citizen science, as well as choosing curated citizen science projects that align with our All of Us engagement priority areas. The collaborations between communities and researchers build our capacity to address problems and meet research goals. Participation in the research process also builds trust between NNLM and the communities that we serve. We're committed to increasing access to citizen science resources to diverse populations in and through libraries and other community organizations. We are super happy to be here and provide this opportunity for you to engage with and learn more about citizen science. And we hope that you'll stay actively involved and be a part of future events as we can continue our work with SciStarter and other programs. Next slide, please. So currently in the All of Us study, these are kind of the steps that you go through if you decide that you want to participate. And one of the great parts about this is that if you're over 18, anybody in the United States can participate. This is really taking research to the community, and that's one of the best parts of this. All of Us does exactly that. You can get started by visiting our website at joinallofus.org. And if you join, you can complete surveys and let the researchers get started, including you in our national research program. Once we can get back into communities and into patient populations again, we'll return to places like the library, where we can collect your blood and urine samples and complete physical measurements, making you a full participant in our program. You can still join the study even if you don't have a library that's participating near you or you're not able to get to one of our collection sites. So I'm just going to walk you through the pieces of the protocol, what's involved in participating in All of Us. So the first thing is you have to enroll. And you have to give us access to some form of your medical records. Typically, that's what's called an electronic health record, which is where all of your health information is stored. It's very secure. We do not share it beyond the research team, and your name is taken off of it. You just get assigned a number, and then anytime you participate and provide more information thereafter, that number accumulates your data. So you answer some surveys. The 6 basic ones are overall health, lifestyle, healthcare access and utilization, family medical history, personal health history, and there are some additional surveys on basics, which is sort of like who you are, where you live, where did you grow up, how old you are, and so forth. Then as we aggregate the data and look through it, we'll send you additional surveys that are tailored more toward you. We also ask for physical measurements that include blood pressure, heart rate, height, weight, hip and waist circumference, as well as body mass index. Then we request that you provide biosamples, because even though we're taking all of this other information, getting all of these questions, what we really need to know is what's going on at the genetic level for a lot of people. This is how we can improve our ability to provide precision medicine, by figuring out which genes or which pieces of DNA go with which conditions, and how can we best treat those conditions, and how can we tailor our therapies to people who carry the genes for those. So we ask for blood or saliva, a urine specimen, and those are stored at our program's biobank. And then there are also wearables and digital apps that you can use that can help provide us with data. Fitbit is the most commonly used one right now, and there's more integrations under development. I think the last thing I heard was they were talking to some folks about like getting the Apple Watch health data linked up to our database. So there are lots and lots of ways that you can provide your information to the study, and it doesn't really take much time, and it's not terribly complicated. The blood draw is probably the most off-putting for people, but I promise we're really good at what we do and we won't stick you too hard. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So these are the web addresses that you can use to access the All of Us research program. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you can follow us and look at Join All of Us, and you'll see comments with that hashtag from people probably just like you, who decided to step up and participate in this citizen science project and try to help us improve the way that we provide healthcare for, well, all of us. So I want to say thank you to SciStarter and the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, as well as for everybody who joined us here today. And stay tuned for some more details about citizen science and how you can get involved.
Awesome. Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Burton. And yeah, for those of you, I know we've had a few students tuning into these events, so not to worry if you're under the age of 18. I've been comparing learning about this to being almost like voting. You know, even when you're under 18, it's good to know about voting. So you're basically getting that civic ed for when it's time. So for those of you who may not be old enough yet, don't worry, your time will come. And for everyone else, I hope that you consider this program. To kind of close things out, we're going to pass the mic back to Ted, who's going to talk to us about how folks can stay involved with the Torrance Public Library.
Yeah, just so this is kind of, I guess, builds on what we said earlier. We on our social media, we've been trying to keep a lot of programming active. While we can't have people in the building, we can sell people online. Facebook and Instagram are usually particularly active, so follow us on both of those. Our new things, we announce them on our website, library.torranceca.gov. You can follow there to stay with what the latest things that we're doing, to search what's in our catalog. And we've also switched to the Bookmine app, so you can manage your account online if you sign up and download the Bookmine app. And those are just some ways that you can keep in touch with us. We do have a mailing list you can be on for programming as well, so you can contact about that. But that's that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure,
And
you're welcome.
yeah. And yeah, thank you for being our host today to the Torrance Public Library. One thing I was thinking about, I remember your last question to Dr. Cooper was, what do you wish everyone knew about citizen science? And I was thinking in my head, well, they should read her books and then they'll know her answer. So don't forget, these two books are available. You can probably access them with your library resources. Even if you're not a patron of the Torrance Public Library, a lot of libraries across the country have these books available through library e-media, for example, if you want ebooks, or you could potentially get them by curbside pickup. And
we do have them. We do. I want to say, we do have these in Libby.
Awesome.
So you can get the Field Guide to Citizen Science through Libby for sure. If you do it right now, it should still be there. So
yeah, get it before it's gone. I remember we did an event last week with the LA Public Library as part of the summer reading series, and the librarian hosting the event had actually checked out the book, so no one else could get it, which I loved. It's like she got it before everyone else could. She beat them to the punch.
Insider trading, but yeah.
Good stuff. And so to kind of close this out, we're almost done here. We're getting up to the hour. We hope that you all go to that scistarter.org/NLM page to make your SciStarter account. You can also access a recording of this webinar. It will be listed at the bottom. And then you can also access instructions for Crowd the Tap and more info about the All of Us research program and the tutorial. Oh my gosh, it's like one-stop shopping. So just head over to this page. All of these resources are free to you, so you can volunteer your time with citizen science to turn your curiosity into impact. And we also have another event tomorrow about the Flu Near You project. We're partnering with a library in New Jersey for that one. So you can access the RSVP for that event, as well as recordings from our other summer reading events on scistarter.org/NLM. We're getting to the home stretch of the series, so we have that event tomorrow. And then another event next week with another library in California about the Debris Tracker project, which teaches people how to monitor plastic pollution. So we hope to see you there, see you online on a Zoom near you. So in conclusion, we hope that you know that there are online @/near home projects for everyone with citizen science. You can access those projects at scistarter.org/NLM. We really hope that you do Crowd the Tap, that you participate. And we also hope that you take our survey from this event. We want to know how we did, what you learned about the All of Us research program, what you learned about the Crowd the Tap project. So please go to tinyurl.com/summer reading 11 participants. I think one of my colleagues dropped that in the chat. So make sure you click that. And with that, I think I'm just going to say thank you to our panelists once again. If y'all have any last minute thoughts, now's the time to say them. Otherwise, I think we'll just head out from today's event. So any last minute thoughts?
It's just good to meet everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope good things come of this. We get some kits out in Torrance. That'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for setting this up. This has been a great program, and I really appreciate all of it. Thank you for all of your time.
Thanks for inviting us to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks all. Talk to you soon.
Good.
I think we'll wrap it up here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.